most men today live their life in quiet desperation.
Hey, what's up, guys? So glad y'all joined us again today for the Kingsman podcast. This is part of our men's ministry here at Resurrection Life, and we're super excited to be able to share some real-life solutions for you. As men, we deal with so many different things, and just you listening in, maybe we can give you some things that God can help you in your life. So we're excited about doing that. And man, today I'm super excited because I got my good friend with me here, Micah Hickmam, who is a dynamic husband and father of three, right? And has a passion and a heart to really help the men in our community. So Mike, it's great to have you with us today, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you a lot for having me on, giving me a chance to, maybe help a person or two.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I know you will, because you help me all the time, and we're going to bounce some things off each other.
That's right.
And look, today what we want to do is we just want to talk about some of the different things we talked about recently as men, but especially as husbands and fathers. It seems to be an attack, and we know there is one.
Absolutely.
There's a real spiritual attack, but there's an attack on husbands and fathers in the home, and they're feeling it, right? And we hear it every day. Whether we're at work, the ball field, it seems like, man, we're always trying to pray and help somebody, and they just feel like they're at wit's end. And so we was talking about that the other day, and so since I have you on, I'd love for you to maybe share your own personal testimony in that, and maybe can help some guys out that's listening.
Absolutely. I like Joe Rogan. I don't know if you like Joe Rogan.
We listen to Joe.
He's an interesting guy, and he said something. He was talking to somebody, and it sparked some interest one day. And so he said, most men today live their life in quiet desperation.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well then, how you mindlessly scroll sometimes, like the day's been long and you're just like, gee whiz. And so you just mindlessly scroll. Well, then I saw a couple of videos on TikTok, and one of it was talking about what men go through, specifically, married or men with commitment and things like that, and what they go through, how they feel. And they started laying out these characteristics like, lonely, can't express, go to work, come home, and he's got more work, and nobody thanks him. It's just a life of expectation. Yep. And then you hear the things like there's this poem. Dude, they'll change it on YouTube. It's Teach a Boy to Cry. And dude, I listened to it, and it just blew me away, where it was like, he said, the steps of being a man: ignore the hunger, because you're going to be starving.
Come on.
Starving starving of compliments.
Right.
Starving for any type of expectation, appreciation. Number 2, comfortability with replacement. You're only as good as your work. You're only as good as long as you're a provider. After that, there is nothing else. Right. And then he goes through overcome fear of fire, because most of the things that you put your hands to, they'll go up in flames. Maybe a relationship, maybe your job, maybe your work.
Come on.
And so he starts going through this. I was like, that's right.
That's real. Men are feeling that.
But that's not a lie.
That's not.
It's not something, because what it did is it made me aware of things that I might not have been feeling. One might say self-awareness. I know that's a buzzword.
Right, it is.
And dude, I started feeling it. Like, is this what life is going to be like?
Yeah.
Is this what my expectation? Because I don't want this. Like, so then you start this really weird fight.
Feeling like, what's the point?
Dude, no doubt. Like, why? I mean, I'm gonna sign up for this willingly.
Right.
This is, it's crazy. And I started praying, because it really did bother me. It really did. I started praying, and one day I was driving to work. I had to go to the campground in Gulfport, and I was like, God, you're a good father, and I need to know, like, what is this? Isn't a lie,
right? Like,
this is real. A lot of yes. What is going on? Like, I mean, and man, it was like the Holy Spirit came, and I'm telling you, it was thick. It was. I know I recognize it because I've been around it several times growing up, but man, I'm telling you, it was that I started crying, and I'm not a crier. I don't like feelings.
Right.
Try to hide. My wife gets into, because I tell my kids feelings get in the way of reality.
Right.
I mean,
that's true.
give me a pin, I'll stab you. I bet you're angry at me, and you're feeling pain,
Right.
And she's like, that's not true. But man, I was crying. I had to pull over because I just started like, I couldn't control it. And I stopped, and man, it was cool because I could hear the Lord. It was thoughts that I know I couldn't think.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And by the time I was done, 45 minutes had gone by. I'm on the shoulder of the interstate, and I'm crying and really trying to write stuff down. And man, it was one of those things where I love you.
Come on.
That's why, and it was one of the things. He was like, this is what specifically I wrote it. He was like, this is what the heart of the Father is.
Come on, man.
This is what the heart of, because nobody's going in the storm. I made the storm.
Right.
Nobody's going in the storm. They're just staying outside saying, come on. I was like, wow. And he was like, but you specifically, because I gave you a father.
Right.
And and this is true, there is zero opportunity, zero probability that I would be where I am, who I am, if I didn't have my dad.
Sure.
Character,
Right.
integrity, the things, I still call him today.
Yep.
Most of the time, every day.
Right.
If I didn't have a father,
Right.
A man to help me, I wouldn't know that feeling.
Yeah.
And he's like, now I want you. I was like, God, I really don't know what that looks like. He's like, well, okay. Mm-hmm. And then, dude, it was just like gone, boom, boom. And immediately I learned I was focusing on the wrong thing. Self-awareness. Let me ask you this. My wife zinged me, dude. She's good.
Yeah.
And it drives me nuts. She zinged me. She was like, I was like, man, it was like the more I became self-aware of the things that I was feeling, it was a disaster.
Right.
And she asked me, she was like, what was the first sin in the garden?
Come on.
And I said, well, rebellion. She said, no, because that wasn't a sin at first.
Yeah.
After the knowledge, after they ate the fruit of knowledge, what was the first sin? Yeah. What happened? They became self-aware.
Yep.
And I was like, wow. It was, you could tell. I think on this level, my wife thinks on like a level.
They're the voice of reason for us, man.
And it changed. The very first sin was you are aware of yourself.
Right. Looking at yourself now.
That's right.
Yeah.
And immediately, dude, I found joy. I was like, okay, so the biggest thing is I just ain't got to focus on me.
Yeah.
Like whatever, and it goes back to every biblical principle. But that's hard though, because sometimes you do, man, your job, like sometimes work is very difficult. Phone calls, things like that. And then I got to come home and it's just boom, boom, boom.
Right.
But one thing I watched my mom go through with 11 boys, like she would, dude, I'm telling you, she would just say, God, I know your grace is enough for today.
Yeah. Focused on the solution.
I know. That's what the perspective.
Right.
Focused on what are you looking at? Because if I'm looking at me, you're right. It's daunting. I can't fix me.
Yep. Always.
And I can't fix the situation because now I have commitment.
Right. And when we do try to fix the situation, we do, like you mentioned, Adam and Eve in the garden, the real first sin, being aware of themselves. Before, all they just focused on was God, right?
That's right.
Everything God is and what he's brought them. But then they became focused on themselves. So the only way they knew to deal with this, because the problem's real.
Yes.
We're not denying the burdens, the struggles, the problems, because we all feel it, just like you said earlier. But when we do become self-aware and we introspectively looking at everything, it only makes things worse because we focus on the problem. And all we can do is get fig leaves and cover them up, but they're still there. It ain't go away.
That's, oh my God, I almost said, I was like, we didn't even address the problem. We covered it up. And what do men do? Like, look, I got a problem.
Right.
So we covered up in our manliness and working out and whatever release we have. And one of the craziest things was, Adam, where are you? As if God didn't know.
Right. No.
He was hiding. So God obliged us to say, where you at? Mom used to text us, yet. Like,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
redneck is that? You know, like, not where are you, just yet. Where you at?
Yeah.
You know, he didn't have to ask. And then
Right.
Adam says, oh, wait, here I am. We covered ourselves because we were naked.
Right.
Who told you that? You know, and James, this is what blew my mind. Self-awareness is looking in, right? You're looking in.
Yeah.
Then you're looking at, I'm focused on me to an extent and how I need to better myself.
Right.
To better myself, because that's the lie, right? If you can better yourself, you're going to be better. Stop trying to fix your wife.
Right.
Better yourself.
Right.
And in turn, a better you will be a better marriage, will be a better dad. But here's the thing. With the same breath, they'll tell you, it's crazy to put the people who created the problem in charge of fixing the problem.
Right.
And so what happened is James says, everywhere there is envy, James 3:16, everywhere there is envy and self-interest, there is confusion and every evil thing.
There's no order.
If we have men that are looking at trying to fix themselves, and sometimes it's you're right, I do need to only fix me.
Right.
I don't need to worry about other people.
Right.
But look at that change. Self-interest is confusion. What do we have going on in our world?
Right. We need something bigger than ourselves to help us, right? Because if we was big enough to do it, we'd had already done it. So all we're really doing is covering it up. Well, look, I'm so glad you shared that testimony and you brought that up, because that leads us to our next podcast, which, guys, what we're going to talk about now is, look, here's the reality. We deal with problems every single day. Those problems are real. But we want those problems to be taken care of. We don't want to just cover them up. So we're going to talk about some solutions, right? So rather than talking about all the problems we face, what are the solutions to these problems? And we're going to give you some answers. Starting the next one, we're going to talk about what we talked about is changing our focus a little bit and talk about the power of detachment. So we want you to make sure you join us next week. If this helped you in this testimony, man, it was a blessing to me. Make sure you join us again next time, and we'll talk about the power of detachment. Thank y'all for joining us. God bless.